Welcome to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I'm your host, Florida native and real estate ninja, Donnie Hathaway. You know, I started this podcast because I'm extremely passionate about connecting you with the people and the local businesses that make Palm Harbor so special. Palm Harbor, Florida is a great place to live, work, and play. It has everything you could dream of, from the food, the outdoors, the lifestyle, to the people in the community. I wanted to create a podcast that connected the community and inspired everyone to live better. To join this community and stay up to date on all things Palm Harbor, visit my website, it's palmharborlocal.com, and sign up there to join the locals. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. Welcome to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. We are back with a solo episode today. And today I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind the last couple of years, really. This word has been somewhat of a focus, and going into 2023, it's going to be even more of a focus for my both personal life and professional life. And that word is consistent. So let's start off by defining what consistent is. And that is acting or done in the same way over time, especially so as to be fair or accurate. And so we'll touch on that in a little bit, kind of how I interpret that second piece of the definition. But I think that's an important piece as well. So we're going to break it down into three things that we'll touch on as far as consistency goes. And that is consistency with your goals, both personal and professional goals. So how consistency allows you to achieve those goals or helps you achieve those goals. And then we're also going to talk about building positive habits, both, to help productivity, your mental wellness, physical wellness, all that kind of stuff to kind of help your help build some positive habits. And then we're going to talk about like overcoming obstacles to being consistent, right? Because if you've ever tried to be consistent for any period of time, you know that it's difficult, right? So there's some obstacles to overcome there, some challenges to overcome. And we'll talk about some strategies and things that I've done in the past to kind of help me overcome those obstacles. So circling back to that first thing, and that's like consistency with your goals to help you achieve your goals, be a more productive person. The idea here is like you want to set small, manageable goals that equal long-term success. So, we've all heard the saying, Rome was not built in a day. This is kind of that same thought process, right? We all set usually like yearly goals, and then we want to break it down into smaller, manageable pieces in order for us to be able to achieve those goals and just have the want and drive to push through those challenging moments to achieve those goals, right? If we're trying to, achieve our year-long goal on day one, it's just not going to work, right? There's going to be, and if you're setting a goal that you're achieving on day one, that's for the entire year, you probably need to set some bigger goals there. But so for an example, one of my personal goals this year is to run 400 miles over the entire year. So obviously I'm not going to run 400 miles in one day or in one weekend, right? So I need to break it down into smaller goals that are manageable for myself that I think I can accomplish. So if I break it down by week, I need to run 8 miles per week in order to hit 400 miles for the entire year. And if I could break down even smaller, I need to run 4 times a week and I only need to run 2 miles, right? So that seems pretty simple to me. I just got to run 4 times a week, and each time I run, I got to run 2 miles. So whatever that number is, like break it down into something that's small and manageable for yourself. The key is you just have to be consistent with that over time. It doesn't have to be every single day consistency, whether the consistency is based on a week, a month, 4 times a week, whatever that time frame is, like break it down into something that's simple for you to accomplish and that you think you're going to stick with for the entire year. I mean, even go as simple as, and simple and as easy as you have to, so that when you think about, taking that next step to achieve your goal, whether it's running 2 miles or maybe it's only, walking a half mile or walking a mile, whatever it is, like make it manageable so that you can enjoy that long-term success and you'll want to stick with that goal over the entirety of the year. So just being consistent with your goals, it just, like I said, small manageable goals are going to equal that long-term success. So break your large, big goals down into these simple steps that seem manageable for yourself. What's up, Palm Harbor? It's your host, Donnie Hathaway. If you are looking to stay up to date with all things Palm Harbor, then visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com. Super simple. You can sign up there, join the locals, where I'll be sharing more information on local events, local history, and what's happening in Palm Harbor. I really want to create and add more value to you as a listener for spending your valuable time tuning into my podcast. So join me there, keep listening, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. Number 2 is building positive habits around, being productive, around your mental wellness, physical wellness, whatever it is. Being consistent is going to help you form those habits. Again, we've all heard the saying before that, it takes 21 days to build a habit or 30 days to build a habit, whatever that time period is. It depends. It varies for everybody, and it depends on what the habit is itself. But in order to build a habit or in order to be consistent with something, we have to do it for a certain period of time before it becomes just like second nature, right? And then we don't have to think about it anymore. It's just what we do. It's who we are as people. This is who I am. I run 8 miles a week. I run 400 miles a year, whatever that is, right? So breaking it down, again, going back to the first one, breaking it down into small manageable goals and just being consistent with that. It's going to help you form those positive habits. And that's going to lead, if you're consistently doing, 1 mile a day or, 8 miles a week, whatever it is, it's going to help you, build that next positive habit, right? So this is like stepping stones. And it leads me into everything I've really learned about like habits and creating positive habits and being consistent with habits is from James Clear and his book Atomic Habits. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend you read Atomic Habits. I've read it several times and I refer back to it often. And one of the things he talks about in his book is this term called stacking. So stacking these habits. And we do this already as humans. It's just kind of second nature for us to do that, right? But we wake up in the morning and we brush our teeth, and that leads us to think about getting dressed. And then getting dressed leads us to think about getting coffee, right? So you're stacking these habits. So now, instead of just us naturally stacking habits in whatever form or whatever, not really thinking about it, now we're just aware of it and we're stacking the right habits, the positive habits that are going to lead us to success, allow us to achieve our goals that we want to accomplish and everything. So for example, stacking your habits in the morning, let's say, you wake up, you put your feet on the floor, you drink a glass of water. Now, after I drink my glass of water, now I'm going to get dressed in the morning. Now, after I get dressed in the morning, then I'm going to go make coffee or I'm going to go eat breakfast, right? And so you're stacking all these habits that are going to lead you to, putting your shoes on to go run your 2 miles. And so then that way you have this habit stack that is from the time you wake up until the time you are accomplishing, your goal for that morning. And another thing that's helped me, so stacking these habits and just writing it out has tremendously helped me. This is something I've done over the last few months, but writing out exactly what I want to do in the morning. So if I'm waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, from 4 to 6 is, me time where I can, do my journaling, exercise, drink my water, all that kind of stuff. Anything that I want to do in the morning is from 4 to 6 a.m. So I write down everything that I need to do that morning. So I wake up and I don't even really have to think about like what is going to happen from 4 to 6 a.m. Everything's already planned. I just have to follow my steps, right? So I drink a glass of water. I put my shoes on, I get dressed, I stretch, and then I drink coffee, and then I journal, and then I read and all this stuff. So writing it out the night before, and I do this every single night. When I'm successful, I've written my morning routine out the night before, and that's what's tremendously helped me. So stacking my habits and then writing them out the night before so that I'm reviewing everything that I'm going to do in the morning. And then I know, like, as soon as I wake up, that alarm goes off, I'm ready to go. And and everything is kind of just set in motion from that point. So the third thing that I want to talk about when it comes to consistency is just the challenge of being consistent, right? It's not easy. It is, sometimes it's boring. I myself, I like to change things up quite often. And so it can be boring. The repetitiveness can be boring for someone like myself, or for anybody. It's just hard to do things over and over and over again for a long period of time before you really start to see that long-term success that we talked about, before you reach those 400 miles for the entire year, right? It's a long play, but it will drastically change, you both physically, mentally, and your productivity throughout the day if you can be consistent with, the positive habits that you want to create. So one thing that a couple of things that I've heard recently that have kind of changed the way I've thought about, setting goals and being consistent with goals. And one of them is from another one is from Rob Dyrdek, and he tracks everything he does. He has a system for everything he does, and so he's tracking his goals throughout the entire year, right? So if I'm tracking, how many miles I ran every single week, did I hit my 8 miles or not? You're keeping track of that in a spreadsheet or whatever, however it is that you want to track that. But also being kind to yourself and understanding that you're not always going to feel like doing that habit or achieving that goal for the day, whatever it is. You're going to have down days, you're going to have off days, and just being kind to yourself and giving yourself some leeway there. So if you're tracking your habits, if I'm consistent 90% of the time or 95% of the time, then it also creates a little bit of more motivation there too, where you're creating a game with yourself. Like, I just have to be consistent 90% of the time, right? So then you're going to have your off days or whatever. But if I'm showing up 90% of the time, then I'm good. And then the goal is to increase that number. How do we get 95% this year? How do we get 100% this year, or 99%, whatever it is? So tracking your habits that you want to improve, and then just being kind to yourself there, I think are some ways to just overcome the redundancy or the challenge of being consistent. So to circle back and kind of put this all together, consistency, I think, is an important part of anyone's life if you're trying to improve yourself and just be a better person, be a better business owner, be a better employee, whatever that is. I think there's habits in there that we can be consistent with to help us improve that. And then, building positive habits around that are going to help you, both physically, mentally, and your productivity in that business. So consistency with goals, building those positive habits, and then overcoming those obstacles to being consistent. So I encourage you to reflect on your own consistency. If that's something that you are, wanting to improve, or this message hit home to you, reflect on like how consistent you've been, and maybe there's some ways, some tips that I just talked about that you can pull from this podcast, from this episode, to instill into your own life and help you be more productive and build those positive habits that are going to help you be more physically, mentally well, and just lead to a happier life. So thank you for listening. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Have a great 2023. We'll see you soon. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I really hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. Now, if you're looking to connect with the guest or just get more information on the episode, then you can check the description below. I'll have all the links in the episode, as well as a link back to my website. It's palmharborlocal.com, where you can stay up to date on what's going on with the podcast and sign up there to join the locals. Let's get after it this week. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.